Pure Experiences.
Welcome to the Pure Experiences Podcasts.
Today we are going to discuss some extraordinary means of managing the desires. Desires reside in the domain of the mind, and mind is the best place to handle them and to manage them. When we employ purely mental means in order to fulfill a desire, satiate a desire, we enter the domain of a study called technology of the mind. It is the study of the laws of the mind, how the mind works, using the mechanisms of the mind in order to fulfill our desires. It does not involve a lot of effort in the world, although the effects can be seen in the world. Most of it is in the mind. There are hundreds and thousands of such methods that are usually grouped under occult, which means it is hidden. Why is it hidden? Because usually subjective. It cannot be seen by others. If seen by others, it leaves no evidence for those who are not involved. Therefore, from the point of view of an ordinary person who is not involved in the technology of the mind, it is well hidden. Therefore, called occult, occluded. It's also called magic. Looks like this word is derived from Maya. So manipulation of Maya is magic. Manipulation of the illusion that the mind is producing is magic. If the mind can produce an illusion of this complexity, the mind can manipulate it. This is the basic principle of the technology of the mind. If it works on laws, we can utilize those laws to force a certain outcome. That is using the mind against mind. Just like the technology of the matter, using material laws and producing outcome, which is favorable for us, which is also a means to fulfill the desires. So we study the natural world and we derive the laws and we use the laws against the laws. This is called technology. And we arrange things so that the Mother Nature produces the outcomes by herself. All we need to do is know the laws. Technology of the mind is nothing different. Actually, the technology of the matter is a subset of technology of the mind, because matter and physical world is a tiny part of the mind. There is only this one big, huge mind, the universal mind. Human beings are not supposed to do this donkey work of manipulating the matter. We are supposed to evolve and fulfill our desires using mind only. That is more human, that is more intelligent. So when we are less evolved, we prefer the technology of the matter, manipulation of the world and the matter. When we are more evolved, we prefer the more refined methods. Either we totally destroy the desires, the nasty desires, or we fulfill them in a manner that produces least amount of bad consequences. This is more evolved way. This is superior way of acting, more human. So using mind to fulfill the desires, using magic, using the occult, using the laws of the mind to handle the desire is the human way of managing the desires. That is what I was hinting at in the past episode. So the magic is very sophisticated and very advanced way to fulfill our desires, to achieve our goals by utilizing the laws of the mind in order to manipulate this universal mind itself. Magic is as old as the humanity itself. As soon as we become aware that there is a mind, there are laws of the mind, we started finding ways to manipulate it. This is human nature. Probably it is 100,000 years old, probably more than that. We really do not know. It is a subject of debate. It actually does not take a long time. As soon as a particular kind of mind is incarnated, it usually takes 100 or 200 years, a few generations, to develop the technology of the mind. And the technology becomes advanced enough, it becomes useful. You can see it right now also. As soon as the physical laws were discovered, it took 200, 300, 400 years only to develop a sufficiently useful kind of technology. And we live in this marvelous technological world. It happened in a blink of the eye. technology, knowledge, science, medicine, all these things, it did not take long. As soon as the basic principles are discovered, the technology shoots out like an arrow. And it is my intuition, it is my understanding that during the human era, which can be anything from 25,000 years to 100,000 years, it happened many times that the technology boomed, it blossomed, and then it fell. The cycles happened, which the ignorant people call the rise and fall of civilizations. There is no such thing as civilizations. There is only rising of the technology or diminishing of the technology. There can be many reasons for the cycle, but it is very natural. Mind is a cyclic thing. So all kinds of cycles happen here. And some of the ignorant people, they assume that humans were like animals for millions of years. And just very recently, 500-600 years ago, they became civilized only in certain parts of the world, a few countries. People who speak a certain kind of language, they became so-called civilized, while the rest still continues as uncivilized animals, which is idiotic, a very narrow-minded view of humanity. You need to just take a look at the ruins of past technologies, past cycles. The older it gets, the better it looks. I've spoken about the technology of the mind in a lot of detail in 3 parts on this topic here, and also about the magic under the topics of the left-hand path, the group mind, and the structure of the mind. If you're interested, it is all here. The details are all here for you to study and know. So today I'm going to talk on similar topics, but from the point of view of desires, which is our subject. So technology of the mind or the occult practices can be used to fulfill our desires. It is not right and it's not wrong. Remember that only the consequences are good and bad, not the methods. If it favors you, if it is helpful in your survival, then it is good. Otherwise it is not. So a technology can be good for those who have it and can be bad for those who don't. For example, the nuclear bomb, those who own it, it is good for them, and those who get bombed, it is bad for them. There is nothing in the technology itself that is good or bad. The consequences define what is good and what is bad. It depends on whether it assists in the survival or it causes harm. One person's harm can be other's survival. Their survival can be your harm. It is all relative. There is no technology which is good for everything or everyone. Everything has mixed consequences. We do not have any control over anything. No control over the consequences. You can see it in the way the technology is used. In case of the technology of the matter, and the same thing applies for the technology of the mind, which is also called the magic. It is not good and it is not bad. There is nobody here to tell anybody whether to use it or not use it. There are no authorities here. So I'm not here to tell anybody to use it or not to use it. I'm not going to preach anything, but I'll just tell you that if you do something, what will be its consequences? That's all I can say. I see and I say. But it is our human nature to warn others. If it turns out bad for me, then usually I would warn others not to do that. If it turns out good for somebody, people usually offer advice. Okay, you can also try this. See if it works for you. So apart from that, I do not have any kind of biases for or against this kind of use of magic for fulfilling the desires. So you are yourself responsible if you act on what is following from now. So the magic is of 2 kinds, the black magic and the white magic. And just like I said, it depends on the consequences. If it produces bad consequences for everyone, including the practitioner, it is generally called as black magic. And if it does not have any kind of harmful consequences, and in a limited way, if it is useful for the practitioner, it is called white magic. So they are highly relative and highly subjective words. It is going to be like this for everything in the mind. It is all relative and subjective. Nothing is absolute here. Both the black magic and the white magic can be of 2 types. The first is assisted and the second is unassisted. When it is assisted, we use help of other minds, the minds that are reasonably evolved And as unassisted is when we do not rely on any other entities or any other minds. So first let us go into the details of black magic and how to use it for desire fulfillment, satiation of desires. It is nothing but a means for fulfillment of desires. It is not going to produce happiness. It is not going to produce freedom. Just like we discussed in the part 2 and 1 of this series. Fulfillment of desires by any means produces only lessons, produces only growth and evolution of the mind. Black magic makes it very direct and painful, that's all. Those who are involved, the practitioners, the entities, those who are affected, they all end up in suffering. And therefore the intelligent and wise people have labeled it as undesirable, black, dark art. They produce more suffering than happiness, but they always produce learning and they push the mind a little bit further. Actually, these are my own words because the traditional occult literature is full of many names. I do not want you to get confused and bother with all those traditions and different names that they employ. So I am using simple words here, which everybody can understand. The first unassisted thing that most of the black magicians are after are powers. The power to read the minds, the power to cause harm, the power to manifest something, the powers to prolong one's life and manipulate people, and so many things. What are powers? Powers are just abilities of the mind, which involves something which is not possible to do in the physical world. So mostly the powers are mental in nature, but sometimes the effects are seen in the world or in other people. And there are more things like rituals, curses, hexes, spells, possessions, and a long list of abilities that the unassisted magician is after. These all can be utilized for the fulfillment of desires. It is possible to cause harm to others. It can be utilized to manipulate others. It can be utilized to disable others. They can be utilized to gain unfair advantage in the society. But the good thing is, usually it affects a tiny amount of people, 1 or 2 people. It does not work on the whole society. It does not work on the whole country. Because the unassisted mind is a weak mind, a small mind. It does not have that much power. But there can be assisted forms of the same which can cause great harm, which can wipe out the whole humanity if they wanted to do that. Just like the physical technologies, like the nuclear bomb can wipe out the whole countries or the whole worlds. And the technologies of the mind are 1,000 times more powerful, 1,000,000 times more powerful. There is no limit to its power. And it is not that the white magic will be more powerful than the black magic because we are on the good side. No, there is no such distinction. The Mother Nature does not distinguish between black and white. It is equally powerful. People have some funny kind of notions about it. So some people assume that if it is bad, well, it's not going to work. If it is good, it will be powerful. But no, nothing like this. The laws of the mind are applicable for all equally. They do not distinguish between good and bad. So the black magic itself is a path where the black magician thinks that it is okay, it is totally ethical to use these things. They have their own philosophy for why it is good, very rational and logical arguments. You cannot argue with these people. It is like going and arguing with a soldier, a military person, that look, you are doing something wrong. It is bad to kill people. Do not cause wars. Do not bake your bread on the funeral fire of innocent people. But obviously they have their own reasons. They have their own philosophy for why the military is good, why the wars are good. Because they are going to produce some arguments like, look, if you do not defend, if you do not kill your enemies, they are going to kill you. They are going to produce violence, cruelty, and they will overpower you. They will enslave you if you do not take the violent means, violent actions. There is nothing ethical and unethical here, just pure survival. Those who are strong, those who are cruel, those who are violent, they survive. Mother Nature is like this. She does not distinguish between ethical and unethical practices. So, the people have their own points of view to look at these things, And I'm not going to take any sides, because that is foolish. That is foolish to take the sides. All we need to do is use our own judgment, our own discretion. You are free to use your own judgment here. In the assisted kind of black magic, we use help of other entities that are desirably more evolved, more powerful than my own mind. Mostly we call them disembodied minds, but that is kind of not very accurate name, because this mind is also disembodied. Minds are always disembodied. The body is taken up as a means to fulfill some desires, to gain some kind of outcomes. That's all. Body is actually an occult power, if you want to use that word. Though there are minds that can form bodies and act in illusory worlds, the simulated realities, using the avatars. This ability is a power in itself. So as a causal body, I have this very amazing power to manifest a body, a physical body made up of matter, and act in the material world. It is a big power. It has a lot of implications. And it is a fast-forward way to evolve. Those who do not have this power to manifest a body are called disembodied beings. That does not mean they are powerless. It does not mean they are weak. They may have something else, you see. The mind compensates by evolving another set of abilities. Just like a blind person cannot see, but the hardware is then utilized in processing sound much better. So they are very amazing musicians, very talented in the field of sound or smell. And similarly, the minds who do not prefer bodies, they have different set of abilities. And some may think that the body is kind of a burden. Habitually they won't take a body, and they want to remain free, and they want to take a body, any body, whenever there is a need to take up the body. The need is usually fulfillment of a desire that can be done through the specific kind of form, specific body. So these assisted activities mostly are seen as interactions with disembodied minds. They do not have a body here. But that is not really required. They may have a body, may not have a body. If two black magicians, they meet and start a project, they are embodied, obviously, but they are using the minds to get their desires fulfilled. So the body is not really a factor here. So how many kinds of entities are here? For us, ordinary people, there is nothing above human. But those who explore the mind, those who explore so-called other realities and other minds, they will tell you they know a lot. And those who do not dwell in these activities, they have exactly zero knowledge. They will actually say that these things are imaginary. These people are mad. They do not know anything. And mostly maybe it is correct, who knows. But those who have real knowledge, they can show you that there are a big variety, a garden variety of entities with whom you can collaborate in order to fulfill your desires. And there are millions of them. There are thousands of kinds. And just like everything else, just like the creatures here on this planet, and they are also arranged in a hierarchy. Some are not more powerful than, let us say, a rat or an ant or a virus, and some are as powerful and as intelligent as humans, and some are more than that. And there is the top end of the hierarchy where they are absolutely unimaginably powerful. We do not have the ability to comprehend what they are. So obviously there will be black and white here also, you see, but it is very, very diffused thing now. It is just a gray area. More evolved an entity is, more distant that entity becomes. They are not within our comprehension now. We cannot even judge good or bad concerning those at the high end. The low end, yes, we can see their tendencies. Usually, somebody who is practicing black magic will attract something similar to his or her own tendencies, and the birds of same feather. So, like attracts like. It's very much true. So, a person with twisted mind, mad mind, cruel mind, evil mind is going to attract that kind of entities. And they collaborate together. They sign a pact together to do some activity in this world or in other worlds, so that one or the other of the desires are fulfilled. The end goal is always fulfillment of desires. It is not that they enjoy this kind of activity, meaningless actions in the occult field. No, it is not for fun. It is not also for knowledge. It is mostly for fulfillment of desires. So let us say if I have a desire to have a long life so that I can eat, excrete and mate and sleep and watch TV for longer time. What else we do? We do not do anything valuable here. But if there is this desire, which many people have, we can search for an assisted or an unassisted method to manipulate the body so that it starts aging slowly, so that the aging is restricted. It cannot be stopped because of the impermanence, but renewal can happen. So there are ways to do that. It is possible both in the black way and white way. So if it is assisted, that means the entity knows how to do that. The entity will do that for you, and in exchange of that favor, you will need to do something for that entity, whatever it is. So totally depends on the entity. You see, they may ask for a small thing like a head of a goat, blood of a pigeon, who knows what, virgin girl, we do not know, but newborn child. But the black magician will need to do that. Sometimes it is something mental. Some may ask that mind to become a slave mind to assist in the entity's own projects. So that means you sell yourself to fulfill your desires, and in exchange you get something. And as you can guess now, it is a risky adventure. That's why it is not recommended. It is not even recommended to take assistance of evil people in the world itself. Why to go that far? Why to go into disembodied mind and other regions of the universal mind? It is not really recommended to collaborate with people that may produce some kind of harm. So it may look like harm to others, but who knows? The entity can say that I'll give you happiness and freedom, whatever you want. Just agree to my conditions, something like this. And an ordinary person won't be able to actually distinguish between what is white and what is black. It is not possible sometimes, because when you are dealing with something which is 1,000 times more intelligent and powerful than you, then it is, we are like dogs on leash. Then we do not understand what is their intention really. Usually it does not require any kind of effort. Usually the consequences are restricted to the mind that is doing it. Usually it is not seen by anybody else. It is well hidden. But the desires, they get satisfied. That is our point. And there is similar counterpart there, which is the white magic. When it is unassisted, it can be in the form of powers, again, the good powers, like healing, manifesting, or protecting people, or manipulating Mother Nature to produce more crops, more fruits, warning people from natural disasters. These things, premonitions, prediction of the future, and so on. These things are unassisted, and they depend on the spiritual evolution of the practitioner of the white magic. And there are also rituals, and there are also similar ways, like in the black magic field. But here the consequences are seen as good for the practitioner and for others also. They are seen as helpful for survival. although it is nothing but desire fulfillment. This can be assisted also, just like there are evil entities, unethical entities, or the lowly kind of entities, dark. There are good entities, very powerful. And there is a whole hierarchy now. There are millions of kinds now. And we generally call them as deities, ancestors, gods, forces, energies, even gurus, the disembodied gurus, masters, the ones that have transcended, who have achieved higher states. We take their assistance, we take their help in order to fulfill our desires. Because desires are a way to evolve, the more evolved minds, they are sometimes ready to help you. Not always, but sometimes. So again, there is a pact. You will need to sign an agreement that I will do these and these things, and please assist me in my survival or in my wish fulfillment. And these gods and deities and ancestors, energies, whatever, they may help you if they desire to do that, if they are getting something, if it is their tendency. And again, the like attracts like. You are not going to attract a very good angel or such kind of mind if your own mind is impure. They do not want to collaborate with you then. So sometimes through compassion and love, they may want to assist you in some things, but usually it is very difficult to collaborate. The evil demons and other kinds of spirits, they are eager to assist you because they have their own unfulfilled desires. They are looking for a scapegoat to do their thing. But these highly evolved white side entities, they are not that interested. They know these humans are puny, their desires are worthless. They are lowly, so they are not interested most of the time, unless there is a big project there which demands assistance and collaboration with humans. So these are two ways. And now we get to the important point, how to do that, how to become a master of magic, a master in the occult field. And I'm going to give you the seed. I'm not going to give you any details because I don't practice all these things, you see. So the seed is desire itself. It is also called intention, magical intention. Sanskrit word is the sankalp. Usually the sankalp will be translated as determination in English. But there is a difference between the sankalp that is done for occult purposes, for the tantric purposes, and a sankalp that is done for the worldly purposes. There is a big difference. So I'm going to translate it as intention, the magical intention. That is the key. A very strong intention is the key. And simply having the intention is not going to work because you have so many intentions. It's not producing any magical result, isn't it? So it requires know-how of the working of the mind, how the mind works, how the greater mind works, how this reality, the mental reality works, what are the laws, how do they behave, and how to put them against each other or arrange them to produce a certain kind of outcome. If you are trying unassisted methods, we can forget about the black and white. It is all same now, you see. Only the intentions can be black and white, but the technology is the same. Methods are same. Entities are same sometimes. And even one magician or one practitioner can have both dark and bright sides, which is most common. We all have both sides. It is impossible to find somebody who is so pure, and it is impossible to find somebody who is a purely evil, dark person. There is always some goodness in such people, and there is always some evil in the so-called good people. Let us forget about these things, what is black and what is white. And the ground is same, you see. A murder can be seen as a murder or can be seen as a defense. Just points of views. The action was just killing. The action was same in both cases. If you want to progress in the occult field, you will need to give up these biased notions. And that's why You see, I'm not taking any sides here. That's what I made it very, very clear. Because I don't see any sides really. Otherwise, I would have taken the good side. But no, I don't see anything good or bad. I don't see anything black or white here. All I see is methods to fulfill desires using the mind, using the technology of the mind. Now you decide if it is black or white. It is up to you. So, and the key is a very strong intention and knowledge of the mind, how it works. Since intention is the driving force, just like we discussed in the first part, that everything, every action in this existence, the physical, non-physical, mental, non-mental, whatever, can be seen as an act of will, can be seen as being produced by a will. Now you can connect the dots, you see, why intention is the driving force, why everything happens because of an intention, a will, a desire, one and the same thing. So if you want to get a specific kind of desire fulfilled, you must form a seed intention. That is the technology, that is the method. Once the intention is there, it will do its job. It is almost automatic sometimes. Just like you mix two chemicals together and that's all you need to do. And then the reaction happens on its own. It will produce the outcome. It is automated. It is the will of the chemicals to mix and form certain substances and so on. You can say like this. So you just push it a little bit and then the mind does it. The universal mind does it. Sometimes we do not need to get beyond our own little mind, the so-called individual mind. And sometimes just one step in the universal mind, that is something which concerns the body. Let's say there is a disease in the body, you want to get rid of it, you tried everything else, now you want to try something extraordinary way. And now you can go to a master and learn the art of self-healing. And it will be very much like desiring it again and again and again. It is not just a wishy-washy thing. The magician does a lot of mental activities in order to produce the effect. Sometimes it takes form of external rituals. The rituals are nothing but enforcement of the intention. The ritual itself does nothing. Sometimes the practitioner will use sounds or devices, the mantra and yantra, to assist in this desire fulfillment. And the mantra and yantra, the sounds and magical chants and the figures and drawings, they are useless. They do nothing. They are only a means to enforce the intention, the magical intention. So those who do not know the technology of the mind and just go through the empty rituals, whether they are black or white, does not matter, they fail, and therefore they conclude that there is no such thing as magic. So it is obvious why they fail, because the knowledge is not there right now. In human society, this knowledge is well hidden. It is occult. The name says it all. It was not always the time. The humans evolved many times to a great height where the magical methods were very common. Everybody knew them, everybody practiced them. And then as the civilizations fell, as the planet went into the dark cycles, nights, the knowledge was lost. You can also say it was taken away by very compassionate powers so that we do not harm each other using very powerful things, because mind is the most powerful thing there is, because that is all there is. What else is there except mind? It will always take a master. You will always need an assistance, at least to learn the magical methods. It always takes somebody who is more evolved than you to know the technology. Otherwise, by themselves, the humans, it is kind of very difficult to come up with anything. These powers or siddhis or whatever, and they are very natural, because as the mind evolves, it gains more experience, more knowledge, and it learns to manipulate itself and things around itself. And these are very, very natural things. It takes a lot of time. It is not impossible, but it takes some time. And if you are on the correct path, let us say you are on the spiritual path, then all these powers, they manifest quickly. Otherwise, if you are in the worldly path, well, if nobody told you that there is such a thing, you will never know it. If you half-heartedly practice a mantra or some ritual, it will never work, because the spiritual work is lacking. The mental purification is not there. The mind is not evolved enough. So just chanting or just, calling this god or that god or deities or goddesses, it produces exactly zero results. The mind needs to get to that higher place in order to utilize the technology of the mind. Otherwise not. So those who are not evolved enough, they cannot do the unassisted things most of the time, and so they go for assistance. And worship is born. If you take assistance of those who are powerful enough already, who know the occult already, then the priesthood is born. Those who are not even worthy of, getting assistance from these powerful minds, they resort to the lowly entities for assistance, and black magic is born. So it's all very natural, and it all stems from the root is desire fulfillment. Mind, if it finds a way, it will utilize it for desire fulfillment. The mind does not know anything else. Look at the mind. You can kill your intelligence, you can kill your discrimination, you can kill your awareness very easily, but the desires cannot be killed. That is the major force in the mind. So those who are in the lowly, not so evolved activities of desire fulfillment, assisted or unassisted, they do not actually utilize their intellect. They do not utilize their powers of right and wrong, wisdom, nothing, because not evolved enough, and still practice the technology. And you can see why it is not recommended. You can now see that it is going to produce nothing but suffering, because a stupid mind is doing it. What else can happen? Like a child playing with fire. What else can happen? It is always a disaster, isn't it? So listen to the more evolved people. That is my recommendation. Even if you don't know what is good, what is bad, what is black, what is white, don't worry. Listen to those who are evolved, those who have progressed in their spiritual paths. Take their assistance, take their opinion, because obviously an ordinary person will not be able to know really. Those who dabble in these activities, they very quickly come to know what is right, what is wrong, what should be done, what should not be done. You learn through your own experience. Just like I said, it does not matter what you do to fulfill your desire, there is always learning. So occult can be used as a quick way, a super highway for spiritual evolution. It will produce the effects, the learning much quicker. It is a super fast track. And that's why you see the yogis and these people, they are into these kind of mental activities, purely mind oriented, not interested in the world at all, not really interested. So if you want, you can take this path, and don't worry, the desire fulfillment never finishes. There are more desires waiting. As soon as you know how to fulfill them using only your mind, there is a fresh batch, a truckload of new desires that pop out. The mind does not stop. So don't worry, you're not going to get happiness, you're not going to get freedom, you're not going to get long life, beauty or powers, nothing of that kind. But you will surely get fulfillment of desires and the related learning that happens in this means of satiation of desires. And desires always find a way. So they are so powerful that when the mind evolves to a certain level, the siddhis, they will start manifesting, and they will, automatically start fulfilling the desires. It is so powerful. You see, the only power there is in our mind is the power of the desire. Better utilize it, better channel these energies of desires into something good for you. Otherwise, it is very destructive. You can see those who want to do something disgusting, They kill their intellect using drugs or alcohol or something similar. And when the intellect is killed, the desire gets an outlet. If the intellect is on, they are not able to do it. You will not be able to eat a dead body of an animal if your intellect is functioning. So you will need to dumb it down. You will need to kill it using alcohol or drugs and all. And now that dead meat appears juicy, appealing. Otherwise, you won't be able to do that thing. Similarly, if you want to rape somebody or if you want to fulfill your sexual desires, it is a disgusting thing, but your intellect will say it like this. But if you kill it, if you kill the higher layers of the mind, subdue them through substances, alcohol, or you see a bad company, bad friendship is also equally poisonous. And now you can do that. Now you can do any disgusting thing in the world because the desire finds a way. It will kill the intellect. It will kill your discrimination, your sense of right and wrong, ethics, everything in order to fulfill itself. It is so powerful. I don't need to give you any kinds of examples here. It is your own life. Your own life is the biggest example. Whenever you were under the possession of desires, intellect did not work. Right and wrong did not work. The opinions and advices of wise people did not work. You see, it happened. And you know the consequences of that. When the desires are so powerful, better channel them into something. Use magic, use black magic, use white magic, but otherwise they are going to cause a lot of havoc. And the more desires you have, the more they want to get out, the more pressure there is. Such a mind can lose itself, can go insane. And it happens. This is your own experience. When the force of desire becomes very, very strong, insanity happens. In order to avoid this kind of irrational behavior, the behavior where the intellect needs to be killed, as sometimes it is seen in the religious activities also. Look into the eyes of a religious devotee. They are insane. They are in some kind of mob influence. The whole group is kind of under the spell of the religious fever, the virus of the religion. And when they get together, they can do unimaginable harm. You can see a person who cannot even kill a mouse, give him the virus of religion and he can wipe out innocent people. He can rape children. He can tie bombs on his body and become a suicide bomber. So this religious brainwashing acts like a sedative which cancels out the intellect, which cancels out the sense of right and wrong. The awareness is totally killed by such things. If you are a member of a cult, then your intelligence going to say bye-bye. Your awareness will be dead, and then the desires take hold of you. So what is the difference between black magic and white magic? In white magic, you can say the intelligence is still on. The sense of right and wrong, and this can cause harm, and no, I should not be selfish, and I should not cause any kind of violence, cruelty, or stupidity. This thing is still on. The higher layers of the mind are still functioning, you see. And when you use the technology of the mind to fulfill the desires, to channel the desires, to satiate these energies of desires, then it is okay. It does not produce a lot of consequence, you see. But when intelligence is absent, when the stupidity, insanity gets hold of the person, then the same activities, the magical activities, they can be now called black. They can be called the dark activities. So if you want to pursue this path, the so-called left-handed path, you can turn it into right-handed path by simply evolving before taking up these practices. Simply progressing on your spiritual path. Give up all kinds of madness first. Give up the impure, dark things that are lingering in your mind. Purify the mind. And then you can expect a little bit of positive outcome from magic and occult practices. Right now, you don't even know which gods to worship, which deities to worship. You do not know whether your ancestors are influencing your activities. You do not know what energies are driving you because the spiritual maturity is not there. So much so that you do not know who is influencing. I'm not even talking about magic now. In this worldly experience, our societies, you do not know who influences you, who is driving your mind, who has taken possession of your mind. You do not have your own will. You are just a puppet for the more powerful people in this worldly existence, the society. What is the difference between an ordinary person and a powerful person? The ordinary person obeys the will of the powerful person. His own desires are negligible, weak. Powerful person has powerful desires, impresses those desires on everybody. Magic is nothing different. You see, same thing as below so above. The more powerful entities, they press their will on the less powerful. So the first thing to do is to make your intention powerful. Yes, intention is the seed, intention is the key. But if you want to progress there, the first thing is to purify the mind. It is tricky because you don't know what is impure, what is pure there. So a guru is needed, you see. Master is needed first to evaluate yourself. And then some spiritual work needs to be done. It can take many years. It takes effort, you see. And that's why nobody wants to do it. Everybody wants to get, a little bit of a trick from here or there, a little bit of spell, ritual, so that they can get whatever they are after. Nobody wants to do the hard work. It looks like magic, but it is also hard work. And the purification is important. Otherwise, you will end up in the darkest, deepest corners of the mind where no deity, no God will be able to reach. It can go very bad, you see. The deeper you meddle in the mind, the worse it gets. If you do something in this world, it is superficial. It is on the surface. It is nothing compared to the harm that can be caused and deeper in the mind. So you are dealing with a bigger entity here when you are on the occult path. Bigger than this universe, bigger than this world, bigger than this individual. And that's why it is very rare. Nobody has these powers. Nobody has these abilities. They come and go like in a blink of the eye. So learn to make your intention strong. Make yourself strong person, power of will, not by body. Use the power of the mind. Make the mind very, very strong so that nobody can impress their will on you. And now you are freed from the influences. You get a little bit of ability to think what is good, what is bad. You do not kill your intelligence using substances, using bad lifestyle, using a bad company, or using these groups, religious cults, or political affiliations, or lowly greedy people. You stay away from all this. That will, if you stop the negativity, that is good enough. That is a lot of progress already, and the mind can now automatically start correcting itself. It is like you don't need to force the plant to grow. Just provide it with a little bit of fertilizer, water and shade, and it grows. It recovers by itself. The mind is like that. Just stop abusing it. Just come out of the stupidity, social influences. You will be purified. 50% of your job is done. As soon as you can see your intentions, as soon as you can see your desires, you can target them, you can channel them into something positive, something which is not harmful, because harmful can be destructive, which means self-destructive also, may result in the destruction of the practitioner himself. Channel it into something which is good and creative. Now you will see your intentions will start having an effect. Sometimes you are not even aware of it. For example, if you have good intentions for everybody, if you have well-being of everybody as your intention, it is very strong. Suddenly people will start liking you for no reason. In your presence, things will start happening automatically. As soon as you say something, somehow it will happen. Now we can make a mistake of thinking that I am doing it. Remember, there is no I, there is no doer. It is just because this part of the mind has evolved a little bit and the creative energies have started appearing. This is real magic. This can be seen. You can find examples. Sometimes some of you who are seekers will find such examples in their own life. Suddenly the evil kind of lowly kind of people will leave you. They will start hating you. And the good people will be attracted to you. Suddenly you will find insights and good ideas, very intelligent thoughts in your mind. And you will know that these are not mine. I'm incapable of thinking them. And now, you see, you are being assisted by the more evolved minds. Definition of the more evolved mind is that mind knows what is going on in your mind. So they start taking interest now because you are blinking on their radar. Oh, this one needs help. This has the potential. This individual mind has the potential to evolve, and suddenly there will be help from everywhere, from unseen, occult dimensions. People go to temples, people go to these places, that place, and they offer a coconut and ask the deity to do something for them. Does it work? No, it's not going to work, you see. Don't fool yourself. It is madness. People worship that, people worship this. Embodiment of energy, embodiment of avatars and so on. People even worship their gurus and ancestors. Do they work? No, they never work. Because the groundwork is missing. Because you are not ready. You are not worthy of collaboration with these higher beings. Let me tell you one thing. Even a demon or an evil entity, evil spirit is not going to assist you. If you are not worthy, if you are stupid, they know very well what works, what does not work. They are looking for somebody who is powerful, somebody who can go and get the things they are after. You can see the examples here in your daily life also. A cunning politician is looking for a cunning people who can go and deceive and lie like there is no tomorrow. That gives them more power. And they are trying to get such followers. A person in the military or a king is trying to collaborate with the most cruel, most heartless person because they can kill, they can obey the commands. The most stupid and dumb killing machines they find, they are usually after that. Because an intelligent person with emotions and sense of ethics and aesthetics is not going to follow their orders, is not going to kill on command. So the military-minded person or the king or the military leaders, they are looking for their own kind. And if you take a look at the corporate side, the business side, the CEOs or the owners of the business are looking for somebody who's full of greed, who knows how to earn money, who knows how to sell products, who knows how to fool people, manipulate them into buying their crappy products. They are not looking for somebody who is honest and simple and happy. No, they are useless. They do not result in profit. They want somebody who is of their own kind or even better than them. And therefore, these demons, these black entities, they are looking for somebody who is just like them. They are not going to collaborate with any random person there is. That person needs to have those qualities which they themselves possess. And so, on the white side, the deities, your ancestors and these energies, goddesses, they are not going to assist you if you do not have their qualities. At least, if you do not even have the potential for those qualities. So, do whatever you want. You call it religion. It is all garbage. It is not going to give you fulfillment of desires. Unless you change yourself. Unless you evolve yourself, the magical practices, black or white, they are not going to fulfill any of your desire. It will be a mechanical, robotic, a stupid activity. If you want to do that, you're most welcome. But no, the intention requires a very well-developed mind to express itself. Otherwise, the desires will control you. By you, I mean this body and mind. Not only the desires that are present in this body and mind, also desires of the others. They will control this body and mind. Isn't this happening? Can't you see? Your life is like this right now. You think you are in control? The first thing to do on the path of occult is to get rid of external influences. Now go for an assisted type. Progress further yourself. Evolve yourself further. Make this intention, very strong intention, very strong determination, sankalp, to progress on the spiritual path. How to progress on the spiritual path? Requires knowledge, requires guidance, requires proper training, practices, behavior. It cannot be done in one night. It is not black magic. You say this, you say that, abracadabra. And no. That's why you will find people don't do it. That's why you find very talented, very intelligent and very hard-working people are in the occult field. They are devoted. The whole life is devoted to the occult. It's not frivolous one-time activity for them. It's not visiting this temple or that tomb and asking for favors. Take the coconut. Give me 1 crore worth of contracts. Not going to happen. You are fooling yourself. You do not even know what is magic. You think these entities are very polite, very compassionate. I'm not saying it's not like that. But look, you are also very compassionate. But when you drive from this village to that village, you kill at least 1,000 creatures on the way. A lot of insects, they get killed. A lot of life is harmed. Step on grass, you step on plants and whatnot. You are the God. And these things are people. There is so much difference between a deity and a human. They are up above there, very high, very highly evolved. For them, we are like ants, insects, viruses, bacteria, weed growing in their garden. Think about it. When the civilizations matured, they evolved to such heights. Then the assisted magic really prospered, and we see the ruins of it. And they made places for gods and deities and energies and ancestors and gurus, master ascended beings to fulfill their desires and also fulfill the desires of those highly evolved entities. What do we see? We see ruins of those civilizations now. So much so that we don't even understand what is that. I can see a little bit because I'm on a spiritual path. Sometimes I understand a few things. How evolved these people were in the past. And look what has happened now. We are like animals nowadays. Most of humans are just one step above animals. Don't even think about fulfilling your desires using magic or occult means or the extraordinary means. It takes a little bit of spiritual maturity. And that's why a seeker starts from ABCD. Who am I? What is my nature? What is mind? What are the laws of the mind? How the mind works? What is intention? What is desire? How this mind is being influenced by more powerful desires, more powerful entities. How this mind is bound? What is it that is free? What is it that can free it? So on. And as you can see, it takes effort, it takes time, it takes intelligence, it needs the passion that is required to gain this kind of knowledge. Put it into practice, experiment, and therefore ordinary people are incapable of doing it. Therefore a seeker has a very difficult task in front of him. You think spiritual path is something ride in the park. No, it is just like climbing Mount Everest. Worse than that actually. There is something interesting that happens on the occult path or on the spiritual path, that as soon as you progress, you see your desires. You see that they can be fulfilled entirely in the mind. You get the shortcut to fulfill them. As it happens, and this is the nature of the mind, as soon as the desires are fulfilled, the mind loses interest, no longer interested in fulfilling the desires. This tendency is so strong that even knowing that I can fulfill this desire anytime I want, simply this knowledge will make you disinterested, will make you indifferent, detached from the desire. It kills the desire instantly as soon as we know that I can fulfill it anytime. So if you must have seen this, if you do not have a thing, then the desire is very, very strong to do something. As soon as you get it, you can do it. The desire is there. But there is some kind of sanity now in the mind. For example, you are very keen about riding in the car, driving the car, speeding in the car. The only thing, you don't have a car. It is a very expensive thing. And you are an ordinary person, poor chap. So you will find this desire is kind of like a mountain. Whenever you see the cars, your mind goes like mad for getting the car. Now, let us say by some hook or crook or good luck, you get a car. You earn some money, get a car. You will expect that now I'm going to spend my rest of my life just driving the car at high speeds. I'm going to get more and more cars. That is all I'm going to do. And it must be your own experience, what happens really. Within a month or two, your desire is no more, dead. Now, simply looking at the keys of the car is enough to satisfy the desire. Now, I gave this kind of example just to make you understand that even if you get so many powers, the magical powers, abilities, manifestation, and the blessings of deities, demons, gods, and whatever, as soon as you get them, you will lose any interest in actually practicing it. And now you can see why those who are powerful in this way, those who have the mental powers, the occult powers, they are not seen as willy-nilly practicing them. Even the black magician develops a little bit of sanity, you see. It is a great thing. It makes you bigger than human. Now you're not interested in human activities. You must be thinking, why do I need to earn money and grow food, do this hard work just to eat? How nice it would be if I could get the food in my plate. If I learn some magical ritual and spell so that the food comes in my plate. This is thinking of a stupid practitioner of magic. You see, a more intelligent desire will be, now this is a desire to eat. It is okay, it's fine. But a more intelligent desire is that what if I get the power so that I don't need to eat every day? Probably once in a week, once in a month. How nice it would be. Now there is a little bit of intelligence here, but a more intelligent desire would replace it. And one can say, how nice it would be to simply not eat anything if I can manipulate the body so that it does not need external forms of energy. It does not decay naturally. If I get this siddhi or power so that I don't need to eat. So you see, this superior desire kills the desire to eat. Now you're no longer interested in killing animals and growing this kind of plant, that kind of fruit, this kind of seeds. It's a disgusting activity for you to cook and eat that organic matter. It's not your thing now, not your class now. You have evolved. So what will happen? Even if you have this power, you're not going to exercise it. You're not going to produce food in the plate. Except maybe for demonstration purposes, which you are not going to do for anybody because people are stupid. Because people are stupid. They will start using you for food and they will kill you if you don't provide them the food, you see. So don't make this mistake. Do not demonstrate the powers before those who are not worthy. It creates the pearl and swine situation very quickly. An even more intelligent magician, black or white, does not matter, will say that, the body requires food. The body needs some way to sustain itself. How nice it would be that I don't need this burden of bodies. And you see, the very intelligent, grown up, mature, spiritually mature person is going to drop the body. No longer needed. And you can now think, you can now see where it is going. The spiritual progress, the way of occult, the way of magic actually evolves the mind beyond human. There can be intermediate steps like you can think, probably I need a power to get any kind of body in any kind of universe on my whim and wish. Probably you'll get that also, but then there is a overriding desire there that I want to do away with the business of the bodies and universes. I want to be free, and that will kill all the desires. The desire to be free of desires is the end of all the desires. That is true liberation. This is how the mind purifies itself. And that is why liberation is the end of desires. And that is why desires are bondage. That is why fulfillment or non-fulfillment, both is suffering, both is bondage. And liberation from these activities that the desires produce, the activity of the mind is nothing but desires, is liberation. That is merging with everything there is, which is desiring everything, which is fulfilling all the desires. I am that. Why do I even need to take all this trouble, you see? It's a long way, you can see. We have a shortcut now on the path of knowledge. On the first day we know this, that I am that which never desires. I am that which never fulfills any desire. I am the one who is ultimately free, infinitely free. What do I need to desire, you see? And what if it comes? What if it is not fulfilled? Is it a big deal? Suddenly, everything loses its hold on you. As soon as you know what is your essence. I am the existence itself. I am the very ground of existence. I am the only reality. Now everything else is unimportant for this mind who knows this. And therefore the Jnani is not after powers, not black powers, not white powers, not gods, not deities, and not worship of any kind. Not doing also any effort, not after worldly desires also. He's already liberated, you see. And the form, actual form, the shell, as we call it, this body and mind, becomes a shell. It is already a shell, you see. It is already illusory appearance. It is seen as that only now. And if it desires, if it runs after desires, if it does this, that, occult, this and that, it's all meaningless now. So this is, this may not happen overnight, but usually the self-knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, the essential knowledge will start the purification of the mind. It becomes very, very quick. 1 lifetime, 2 lifetimes, that's all it takes. A few lifetimes in the higher realms, higher dimensions, the remaining desires, they burn out very, very quickly. The karmic storage evaporates. This knowledge of who you are is the only way to freedom. There needs to be a desire to be free, you see. That is the paradox. You will need to do the effort to find that it is all effortless. That is the paradox. Many people do not understand this. It is okay, because from the non-understanding comes the understanding. Those who already understand, they do not progress. They are into themselves a lot. Start from not knowing, and then you will arrive at knowing. So it is very funny that if you pursue the desires, they are going to lead to nothing but liberation. This is a paradoxes of all paradox. I find it so amusing that, the one who is detached, the sannyasi, is also going there where the hedonistic, lowly person, the lowliest of the lowly, is going. They are just paths. There is nothing right and wrong about this. So here we finish the satiation part of managing the desires. In the next part, we are going to discuss the other ways, which are suppression and aware observation. These are just 2 more ways to manage the desires. Satiation is only one of the 3. So it is a big subject. We are going to discuss the remaining 2 in the next part of the series on desire management.
Pure experiences.
You were listening to Pure Experiences by Tharun Pradhan.